sold as if she were nothing more than livestock by the woman who raised her. Clara Whitlock never imagined that the Apache warrior who paid for her freedom was about to uncover a truth so brutal it would tear apart everything she believed about her blood, her past, and the woman who traded her life for a sack of grain and a few strips of dried meat. Before this story unfolds, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and whether you've ever learned that the family you were born into wasn't truly your own. In the merciless desert of Arizona Territory, 1873, a 15-year-old girl was about to discover that the deepest betrayals often come from those meant to protect you, and that real family is not always bound by birth but by choice, especially when the world has already cast you aside. The stench reached Clara before anything else: sweat filth, panic, and quiet despair. She stood among 11 others in a crooked line, mostly women, a few children, all waiting for the same fate. The trading post crouched at the edge of nowhere, a decaying shack beyond the reach of law or mercy, a place where people were reduced to property and conscience was long dead. Clara was 15, her blonde hair tangled with dust, blue eyes dulled by suffering, far too early bones pressing through a torn dress. Hands hardened by labor, meant to break her, but never quite did. She had been standing there for hours since her mother dragged her from sleep before dawn, forced her to walk 6 miles across the desert, and delivered her to a man with lifeless eyes and a ledger in his hands. How much the woman had asked. The trader, a scarred man known as Jed Blackmore, assessed Clara the way one inspects an animal. She's thin, too young for a brothel, maybe field work. $20. That's it, her mother snapped, not with sorrow but frustration. Take it or leave her to die, Blackmore replied flatly. Droughts made everyone desperate. The market's flooded with girls nobody wants. The deal was struck: $20 in coins, a sack of grain, and 3 strips of dried meat. That was Clara's worth. 15 years of life reduced to supplies. Her mother never met her eyes. She didn't say goodbye. She simply turned away, heading back toward the dugout, where the younger children waited. May Collins, 7 years old, Eli Collins, 5, and little Ruth Collins, barely 3, all starving, all slowly wasting away in the worst drought Arizona had suffered in half a century. Clara watched her disappear into the shimmering heat, choking down the scream rising in her throat. She knew why. 3 children might live on $20 in grain. 4 would not. So Clara was chosen the oldest, the sellable one, the sacrifice meant to buy the others time. Cold arithmetic. Survival logic. A mother's impossible decision. At least, that's what Clara told herself as Jed Blackmore locked her wrist into a chain joined to 11 other shattered souls. Now she waited in the back room of the trading post. Men with money and rotting morals prowled the space inspecting human lives. A Mexican rancher grabbed a young woman by the jaw, pried open her mouth like a horse's. How much? 50. She can cook. Clara looked away as the woman was purchased and dragged off, knowing exactly what that price meant. Other services if you want. The woman's eyes filled with tears as the rancher tossed down his money and hauled her away. Moments later, a mine owner stepped forward and purchased 2 teenage boys. I need bodies for the deep shafts, he said flatly. I don't care if they last 6 months. The boys couldn't have been more than 13. They were led out in chains. Clara Whitlock felt her stomach turn. She had heard the stories: mines that swallowed men alive, brothels that hollowed out souls, ranches where servants were worked to death and buried without names. Once sold, people rarely came back. She understood then she would die here one way or another. That was when she saw him. Tall, close to 6 feet, with long black hair, pulled back, skin the color of sun-baked clay, and a powerful frame shaped by years of survival and combat. An Apache. Clara recognized the signs instantly. The moccasins, the knife at his belt, the way he moved alert, controlled, dangerous. He did not belong in this rotting marketplace of white cruelty. The man crossed the room with a hunter's quiet precision, ignoring the other prisoners as if they did not exist. His dark eyes searched with purpose, then stopped on Clara. He studied her. Clara lifted her chin and met his gaze. She would not beg. She would not shrink. If this was the end, she would face it standing. The Apache approached Jed Blackmore and spoke in calm, accented English. The girl, the blonde one. How much? Blackmore's eyes gleamed. That won $50. Young, strong, good stock. 30, the Apache replied evenly. She's worth 50. She's worth 20, the Apache said. That's what you paid her mother this morning. I saw it. I'll give you $10 profit for 2 hours. Fair trade. Blackmore's expression hardened. You've been watching, making sure I didn't cheat. The Apache reached into a leather pouch, counted out 30 silver dollars, and placed them on the counter with deliberate care, the kind of precision that came from a man who expected respect. Blackmore glanced from the money to the knife at the Apache's side. It was not decorative. Fine, Blackmore muttered. He unlocked Clara's shackle. She's yours. Do what you want. Just get out. The Apache gestured once. Come. Clara's legs nearly gave out. She had been sold to an Apache warrior, to a man whose people were at war with white settlers, to someone who had every reason to hate her kind. She followed anyway. She had no choice. Outside, the sunlight blinded her after the darkness inside. The heat struck like a hammer. The Apache stood beside a striking Appaloosa, its eyes sharp and intelligent. He mounted with ease, then reached down. Get on. Clara stared at his outstretched hand. Where are you taking me? Away from here, he said. Now get on before Blackmore decides to rob me. She took his hand. He pulled her up behind him, not roughly, but with unexpected care. She held on to his waist as the horse moved forward at a steady walk, covering ground without drawing attention. They rode in silence for nearly an hour. Clara's thoughts spiraled. Why had he bought her? What did he want? Was she being taken to an Apache camp to be killed, enslaved, or worse? She had heard the stories. She knew captives rarely survived. Yet this man had not harmed her. He hadn't tied her hands. He hadn't looked at her with hunger or cruelty. Finally, she could bear the silence no longer. Why did you buy me? The Apache was quiet for a moment. Then he answered simply. I need help. Help with what? My children, he said. 3 of them. The youngest is 5. The oldest is 9. Their mother died 6 months ago. Fever. I cannot care for them alone. I can't do it alone, he continued. I can't hunt, protect, and provide while also cooking, cleaning, and teaching them. I need someone. Clara Whitlock's breath caught. So you bought me to be a nanny? No, the Apache corrected calmly. I bought you to be their mother, not a servant. A mother. They need one. And you need a place to belong. That makes it a fair trade. Clara almost laughed, almost cried. You don't know anything about me, she said. I could be terrible with children. I could be harsh. I could be... You held your head up in that room, he cut in. You didn't beg. You didn't break. You didn't look at others as less than human, even while you were being sold like an animal. That tells me enough. They rode on. The land shifted beneath the horses' hooves, open desert, softened into scrub, climbed into foothills, and the foothills rose toward darkening mountains. What's your name? Clara asked at last. Rook, he answered. It means bear in my language. I'm Clara. I know. I heard Jed Blackmore say it. Silence returned, but it no longer felt threatening. As the sun sank low, spilling orange and crimson across the sky, they reached an Apache encampment. Wickiups dotted a sheltered valley ringed by stone. Smoke drifted from cooking fires. Children laughed near a stream. It was quieter than Clara expected, almost peaceful. Something stirred in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Maybe this wasn't death. Maybe it was something else. Rook dismounted and helped her down, guiding her toward a wickiup slightly larger than the rest. "This is my home," he said, "and now it's yours." The children are inside. Since their mother died, they've been difficult, angry, afraid, broken. I don't know how to heal them. I only know they need more than I can give. He pulled aside the entrance flap. Inside sat 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. Tear-streaked faces, hollow eyes shaped by loss far too early. They stared at Clara with suspicion, fear, and a hope buried so deep they had almost forgotten it existed. Clara saw herself in them. "Hello," she said softly in English, then realized they likely wouldn't understand. She offered a gentle smile instead, a universal signal of peace. The oldest boy, about 9, spoke sharply in Apache, his voice tight with anger. Rook answered him firm but calm. The boy fell silent. "He asked who you are," Rook translated. "I told him your name is Clara, that you'll be staying, that you'll help care for them, but you will not replace their mother." "I never could," Clara said quickly. "Only help." "If they'll allow it," Rook translated. The middle child, a girl around 7, suddenly broke down. She ran to Clara, wrapped her arms around her waist, and sobbed into her dust-stained dress. Clara froze, then slowly wrapped her arms around the child and held her, letting the grief pour out. The youngest boy, maybe 5, watched, then stepped forward and clung to Clara's leg. Only the oldest remained back, watching, measuring, unwilling to trust. Clara understood. She had been that child, the one forced to be strong, the one who couldn't afford hope because hope hurt when it was taken away. "It's okay," Clara whispered, though the girl couldn't understand the words. "It's okay to be sad. It's okay to miss her. I won't replace her. I promise." Rook watched the scene. Something shifted in his face, relief, gratitude. Something deeper. "They've been alone with their grief too long," he said quietly. "So have I." That night, Clara slept on a pallet beside the children. The oldest boy, Neko, watched her for hours before finally closing his eyes. Suri held Clara's hand through the night, afraid she might disappear if she let go. Onyx curled against her side, like a small animal seeking warmth. And Clara, sold that morning by the woman who raised her, convinced she was riding toward her death, felt something inside her begin to crack open. These children needed her, and God help her, she needed them too. As exhaustion finally claimed her, Clara had no idea that her arrival in this camp had set far greater truths in motion, or that the woman who sold her had been hiding a secret powerful enough to tear her entire world apart. A truth that would eventually overturn everything Clara Whitlock believed about who she was and where she truly belonged. The first week nearly broke her. Clara woke before sunrise every morning to the sounds of camp coming alive. Women grinding corn and preparing meals, men readying weapons for the hunt, children already splashing and laughing near the stream. None of it felt familiar. The language meant nothing to her. Customs she didn't understand governed even the simplest tasks. Lighting a fire, preparing food, fetching water. Everything was done differently here. And the children tested her relentlessly. Neko, 9 years old, refused to speak to her at all. Whenever Clara came near, he turned away or stared at her with hard, resentful eyes filled with grief he didn't know how to release. Suri, 7, clung to Clara, desperately crying whenever Clara stepped outside the wickiup, screaming through nightmares, wetting her bedding night after night from fear. Onyx, barely 5, spoke almost nothing. He simply watched Clara with wide, dark eyes that silently asked the same question again and again. "Are you going to leave me too?" Clara felt like she was drowning. She didn't speak Apache. Communication was limited to gestures and the few broken words Rook patiently taught her each evening. The other women in camp watched her closely. some whispering, others openly scowling at the white girl suddenly living with their warrior's children. Only Rook believed she could endure this. He was patient when he taught her words, careful when he showed her how to prepare traditional food, quiet when he explained customs so she wouldn't cause offense. Yet he remained distant, not cruel, just guarded, like a man who had sealed his heart after losing his wife and wasn't ready to open it again. Not even to the woman he'd brought here to help raise his children. Clara understood. She had built walls of her own. On the 8th day, everything changed. Clara was trying to make breakfast. Rook had shown her how to prepare blue corn cakes, but she mixed the portions wrong. The cakes burned. Smoke filled the wickiup. Neko stormed inside, saw the ruined food, and exploded in an Apache. Clara didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. "You're useless. You're not my mother. You never will be." Something inside Clara snapped. She stood up, met Neko's gaze, and spoke in her broken, clumsy Apache, grammar-fractured pronunciation rough. "I know I am not your mother," she said. "I will never be your mother. Your mother is dead, and I am sorry. But I am here. I am trying. You can hate me, but I will not leave." The words were imperfect, but Neko understood. He stared at her for a long moment, then his face collapsed. 9 years old, carrying the weight of a family, forcing himself to be strong, he broke. He sobbed violently, his thin body shaking. Clara crossed the space between them without hesitation and wrapped him in her arms. "I miss her," Neko cried in Apache. "I miss her so much. Her smell, her voice, the way she sang to us. I miss her, and it hurts all the time." Clara held him tighter. "I know," she whispered in English, then struggling in Apache. "I know the pain doesn't end, but living does not stop. Your mother would want you to live." Neko cried until there was nothing left, then pulled back, eyes swollen and red. "Can you sing?" he asked softly in Apache. Clara hesitated, confused. "Sing." Neko mimed the motion, then pointed towards Suri and Onyx, who stood watching from the entrance. "Mother sang to us." Rook's voice came from behind them. He stood in the doorway, having witnessed everything. "Every night," he said quietly, "Apache lullabies. They have not heard singing since she died." Clara's chest tightened. "I don't know Apache songs." "Sing what you know," Rook said. "They need comfort, not the words." That night, after the children had eaten and settled onto their pallets, Clara sang. It was a song her grandmother had taught her long ago, before her grandmother died, before the drought, before the world turned to dust. "Hush now, little one, don't you cry. Mama's gonna sing you a lullaby. When the night feels cold and dreams won't stay, Mama's right here, you're not alone." Her voice trembled. She wasn't a good singer. The melody was simple, but she sang with everything she had. Suri's breathing slowed. Onyx's eyes drifted closed. Even Neko, proud, guarded Neko, relaxed just slightly. When Clara finished, the wickiup was silent except for the soft rhythm of sleeping children. Breathing slowly again and again, Neko whispered, "Please." So Clara Whitlock sang once more, and then again. She kept going until all 3 children were deep in sleep, their small bodies finally at rest. When her voice faded, she realized Rook was still there, seated quietly in the shadows watching. "Thank you," he said softly. "I never knew how to give them that kind of comfort. I have had to be hard for so long. I forgot how to be gentle." "You are a good father," Clara replied. "You brought me here because you knew they needed more than you could give alone. That takes wisdom. Or desperation." Rook allowed a faint smile. "I was failing them. I watched them fade each day. I had to act." "Why me?" Clara asked. "Surely there were Apache women who could help. Why choose a white girl who knows nothing?" Rook was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Because you were like them. Abandoned. Sold. broken but not destroyed. I believed you would understand their pain in ways others could not. My mother sold me for $20 worth of food, Clara said evenly, to save my siblings. I was the cost of their survival. I know, Rook said. I heard it all. I had been watching that trading post for days, searching. I saw your mother bargain over your life as if you were livestock. I saw you stand straight when she walked away. He paused. I saw strength, and the same emptiness my children carry. I thought perhaps you could fill theirs, while they filled yours. Tears threatened. I don't even know if my siblings are alive, if what I was traded for truly saved them, or if my mother simply decided I was expendable. You are not expendable, Rook said firmly. You are here. You are needed. My children are already healing because of you. That is your worth, not silver, not food. You. Clara wiped her eyes. I'm trying, but I feel like I fail constantly. I burn meals. I barely speak the language. The other women look at me like I don't belong. Rook finished the thought. They may accept you or they may not. What matters is my children, and they are already choosing you. In the weeks that followed, Clara threw herself into learning. An elderly woman named Ashi, grandmother to much of the camp, took pity on her. Ashi taught her Apache properly, not just words, but structure, meaning, and context. Clara learned to prepare traditional meals without burning them, to tan hides, sew clothing, and recognize medicinal plants. She learned each child, Neko's fears, his quiet sense of responsibility, his buried grief. Suri loved to help. Clara gave her small tasks, gathering herbs, carrying water, grinding corn. The girl glowed whenever Clara praised her. Onyx needed touch. Clara learned to ruffle his hair, let him climb on her back, carry him when he grew tired, even as he became heavier with each passing week. At night, Clara learned Apache legends from Ashi and retold them to Neko. His eyes would brighten in ways they hadn't since his mother's death. Slowly, something changed. For the first time in her life, Clara felt she belonged not by blood, not by obligation, but because these children chose her, and she chose them in return. 3 months after Clara arrived, Suri spoke a single word that stopped her cold. Ina. Clara was stirring stew when she heard it. The word slipped from Suri's mouth without thought. Clara froze. Suri's eyes widened in fear. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I didn't mean, I know you're not. Clara knelt, taking Suri's small hands gently. You may call me Ina if you wish. I would be honored. But Father said not to forget our real mother. I am not your real mother, Clara said softly in Apache words that now came naturally. Your mother was named Sakyo. She was strong and beautiful, and loved you more than life itself. I could never replace her, but I can love you too. There is room in your heart for both. Suri wrapped her arms around Clara's neck. I love you, Ina. I love you too, little one. That night, Onyx began calling her Ina as well. Neko did not yet. But he stopped glaring. He began helping with chores. He started teaching Clara Apache songs, not just listening to her English ones. Clara felt happiness, real happiness for the first time. She had found a family. She belonged here. Then on a bright morning, 4 months after Clara's arrival, everything began to change again. The camp erupted into chaos. A white woman had arrived on a mule escorted by a Mexican trader. Voices rose in alarm. Children scattered. Clara Whitlock was grinding corn when the shouting reached her. She looked up and the world seemed to freeze. The woman dismounted. Clara's blood turned to ice. She knew that face, those eyes, that rigid posture burned into her memory. Her mother, the woman who had sold her 4 months earlier, now stood inside the Apache camp, searching for Clara. Clara rose slowly. The grinding stone slipped from her shaking fingers and struck the ground. Across the camp, her mother's gaze locked onto hers. She smiled. Not with warmth, not with relief, with calculation. "There you are," her mother called out in English. "I've been looking everywhere for you, Clara. It's time to come home." Clara couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Rook appeared beside her. "Who is this woman, my mother?" Clara whispered. "The one who sold me." Rook's expression hardened instantly. "Then she has no claim here." But Clara's mother was already forcing her way through the gathered crowd, the traitor, Manuel Cortez, following close behind like a shadow. "Clara, sweetheart," her mother said with false tenderness. "I made a terrible mistake. I was starving, desperate. I didn't know what I was doing. I've come to take you home. Your siblings miss you terribly." Lies. Every word was a lie. Clara saw it clearly now. This wasn't about love or regret. This was something else, something uglier. Horror dawned. Her mother had learned that Rook was wealthy, that the Apache in this region controlled valuable land, that Clara had ended up somewhere far better than expected. She hadn't come to rescue her daughter. She had come to reclaim property she had underpriced. "I'm not going anywhere with you," Clara said, her voice trembling but firm. "You're 15. Her mother snapped, the sweetness vanishing. "You're my daughter. You belong to me. By law, you're coming home whether you want to or not." Behind Clara. Suri began to cry. Onyx grabbed Clara's hand tightly. Then Clara heard Nako's voice, sharp with fear, in Apache. "Don't let her take you, Ina." "Ina. Mother." The word struck Clara like a blow. Something fierce surged inside her. She had been sold once, abandoned, treated like livestock. And yet she had found a family, real children who needed her, a place where she mattered. She would fight for it. Before Clara could speak, before Rook could step forward, an elderly figure moved from the crowd. Ashi, the grandmother who had taught Clara Apache, the woman who had watched her with knowing eyes for months. Ashi looked at Clara's mother, then at Clara, then back again. She spoke a single sentence in Apache. The camp went silent. Rook's face drained of color. He turned to stare at Clara, shock and disbelief written across his features. What Clara whispered desperately. What did she say? Rook struggled for breath. She said that woman is not your mother." "What?" Clara's mother sputtered. "Of course I'm her mother. I raised her." "You lie," Ashi said in thickly accented English. "I know this girl's face, her eyes, her markings." She pointed at Clara. "She is not white child. She has stolen a child, taken from our people 15 years ago." Clara's heart thundered. "I know," Ashi continued, "because she carries the same birthmark as her true mother, the woman who died searching for her." The world tilted. Clara couldn't breathe. "That's insane," her mother said, but her voice wavered. "She's been with me since birth." "Show them," Ashi commanded in Apache. "Show the mark." "What mark?" Clara whispered. "Behind your left ear," Ashi said. "The crescent moon, your birth blessing. All women in your true family bear it." With trembling hands, Clara reached behind her ear. Her fingers found it, the small, crescent-shaped mark she'd always had, never questioned. Ashi pulled aside her own gray hair, revealing the same mark. "You are my sister's granddaughter," Ashi said gently. "Taken during the raid, when you were still a baby. We thought you were dead." Clara's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees. Everything she believed about who she was, her past, her blood, her place in the world, shattered in a single breath. Her blood, every part of it, had been a lie. The woman who had claimed to be her mother, who had sold her for $20 and food, had concealed this truth for 15 years. The silence in the camp was crushing. Clara Whitlock knelt in the dirt, fingers trembling as she touched the small crescent-shaped birthmark behind her ear. It had always been there, always meaningless. Now it was proof, evidence, truth. No, the woman Clara had called mother said desperately. This is absurd. I gave birth to Clara. I raised her. She is mine. Then explain the mark, Ashi said coldly in English. Explain how a white woman's child carries an Apache birth blessing. Explain why she has my sister's eyes, her face, her hands. Manuel Cortez, the trader who had accompanied the woman, shifted uneasily. This is becoming complicated. I was promised payment for returning the girl. You will receive nothing. Rook said quietly. His voice carried danger. You traffic in human lives. You are not welcome here. Leave, now. We're not leaving without the girl, the woman insisted. I don't care about some mark. I fed her. I clothed her. I raised her for 15 years. She belongs to me. How did you get her? Ashi demanded. Speak the truth, or I will cut it from you. The threat was not empty. Several warriors had moved closer, hands resting on weapons. The woman's face flickered fear, calculation, desperation. At last she spoke. There was a raid. 15 years ago, Apache attacked a settlement near Tucson. Everyone was killed. Everything burned. Afterward, some of us found a baby in the ruins, crying alone. We assumed her parents were dead. I took her. I raised her as my own. You stole her, she hissed. That raid was vengeance for white men murdering our women and children. We do not kill babies. We carry them to safety. That child was ours. Clara felt detached from her own body, as if she were floating above the scene, watching an impossible truth unfold. I didn't know. The woman cried. I thought I was saving her. How was I supposed to know she was Apache? Her skin was darker, Ashi said. Her features were different. You knew. You took her anyway because you wanted a child and could not have one. The admission hung in the air, undeniable. Clara finally found her voice. The children you said were my siblings, May, Eli, Ruth, she said slowly. They're not my siblings, are they? The woman hesitated too long. Answer her, Rook said. They were children. I took in over the years, the woman muttered. Orphans, from the drought, from raids. I needed help on the farm. So you collected children like livestock, Clara said numbly. Just like you sold me. I gave you a home, the woman screamed. You worked me like a slave, Clara cut in, her voice growing stronger. You beat me when I was too slow. You told me I was worthless. And when it became convenient, you sold me for grain. She stood. Her legs shook, but held. That isn't love, Clara said. That isn't family. That's ownership. She turned to Ashi. If I am truly your sister's granddaughter, prove it. Tell me something. Only you would know. Ashi's weathered face softened. Your true mother was named Ira, she said gently. She was my younger sister. When you were taken, she searched for you for 2 years. She never stopped. She died of exhaustion and heartbreak when you would have been 3. What was my name? Clara whispered. Kiona, Ashi said. It means young deer. You were born in spring when the herds gave birth. You were meant to grow strong and graceful like them. The name echoed inside Clara's chest, familiar, resonant, like something lost but never erased. My mother. Ira, Clara said. What did she look like? Ashi removed a small leather pouch from around her neck. Inside was a faded sketch, an Apache's woman, with gentle eyes and a soft smile. Clara stared at the face. Her face. The same eyes. The same jaw. The same quiet strength. That's me, Clara whispered. That is your blood, Ashi corrected. Welcome home, Kiona. Kiona felt tears spill freely down her cheeks. For 15 years, she had lived believing she was unwanted, expendable, alone. And now the truth had found her. For 15 years, Clara Whitlock had carried the quiet belief that something inside her was wrong, that she didn't quite belong anywhere, that she was somehow broken. Now she understood why. She had been living the wrong life among the wrong people in a world that was never meant to be hers. This the Apache camp, the language that had come so easily. To her, the customs that felt natural instead of foreign. This was home. It always had been. She simply hadn't known it yet. Her false mother saw the truth settling in and shifted tactics. Fine, the woman snapped. She's Apache. Whatever. But I still have legal claim. I raised her. Keep her and the law will come down on you. Let it come, Rook replied calmly. We have survived worse than white law. They'll send soldiers, the woman warned. An army. Is one girl worth a war? Before Rook could answer, Neko stepped forward. 9 years old, but standing tall. Yes, he said in careful English he had learned from Clara. She is Ina, our mother. She is worth everything. Suri and Onyx moved to his sides, forming a silent wall, 3 children protecting the woman who had protected them. Clara's heart split wide open. The trader cleared his throat. Look, this is turning ugly, but I've got information you might want. Every eye turned to Manuel Cortez. What information? Ashi demanded. He nodded toward Clara's false mother. She's got 3 more kids back at her place. Says they belong to a dead sister. But I've seen the trading posts. I've seen children matching their descriptions sold last year. She takes in orphans and refugees, works them, then sells them when she needs cash. A rage unlike anything Clara had ever known tore through her. May, Eli, Ruth. Her voice shook. Where are they? What did you do with them? The woman paled. They're fine. They're at home. I would never. You sold me, Clara said coldly. Why wouldn't you sell them? Cortez shrugged. Because she's planning to. There's an auction next week. Big one. She's already registered 3 kids matching their ages. The truth slammed into Clara. That's why you came, she said. Not to bring me home. You found out Rook had wealth and thought you could sell me again for more. The woman said nothing. Her silence was answer enough. Where is the auction? Rook asked quietly, dangerously. San Carlos, Cortez said. 5 days from now. Rook turned and spoke sharply to his warriors in Apache. Several nodded and immediately began preparing weapons. You're going to start a war over 3 white children, the woman pleaded. 3 children who don't deserve to be sold like animals, Clara said. I lived with them. They're innocent. And if there's even a chance I can spare them what I endured, I'm taking it. She faced Rook. I'm going with you. You're not trained for... They know me, Clara interrupted. They trust me. If we're getting them out, they'll need a familiar face. I'm going. Rook studied her, the fire in her eyes, the resolve he had recognized the day he bought her freedom. You go, he said. But you follow my lead. Clara turned to the woman who had claimed to be her mother. My name is Kiona, she said coldly. You stole me. You lied to me. You sold me. If I ever see you again, I don't know what I'll do, but it won't be forgiveness. She turned her back. The woman and Cortez were escorted from the camp at spear point and warned never to return. They left quickly. Kiona stood in the center of the Apache camp, surrounded by her true people, preparing to rescue children. She once believed were her siblings, children who, like her, deserved more than chains and price tags. Ashi stepped forward and gently touched Kiona's face. You are brave. Your mother would be proud. I barely remember her, Kiona whispered. You will, Ashi said. Memory lives in blood and bone, in how you stand, how you speak, how you love. You are hers, and you are ours. Welcome home, Kiona. That night, Kiona sat with Rook while the children slept planning the rescue. This is dangerous, Rook warned. There will be armed men, traders who won't give up their merchandise without blood. I know. You could die. I know. Then why risk it? Kiona met his gaze without flinching. Because 4 months ago, you risked everything to buy me, to save me from a life of chains. And this time she would not walk away. That life, Clara Whitlock finished quietly, Now I do the same for them. That's what family does. Rook held her gaze. Something unspoken shifted between them, something neither was ready to name. We leave at dawn, he said at last. Block 4, the rescue and the reckoning. San Carlos was a festering wound, carved into the desert, a town built on greed, rot, and human misery. Clara rode beside Rook, dressed in Apache clothing, her pale hair hidden beneath a dark wrap. 6 warriors followed behind them, moving like ghosts, silent, lethal, prepared. They rode hard for 4 days. The auction was today. Just after dawn, they reached the edge of town. Rook led them to a ridge overlooking the main square. From there, he could see everything. Below the auction grounds were already forming a crude wooden platform, chains, laid out like tools, iron cages, holding what the traders called merchandise. Clara's stomach twisted. 4 months earlier, she had stood on that platform. She had felt those chains bite into her wrists. She remembered the way men had stared at her, weighing her worth. There, Rook said, quietly pointing. Clara followed his gaze. In one of the cages, 3 small figures huddled together. May Collins, 7 years old, brown hair, tangled dress, torn. Eli Collins, 5 painfully thin bruises visible on his arms. Little Ruth Collins, barely 3, crying without sound. Clara's hands curled into fists. "How do we get them?" she whispered. "We wait," Rook replied. "When the bidding starts, attention will be elsewhere. Then we move." They watched. They waited. Clara's heart thundered so loudly, she was certain others could hear it. The auction began. Men gathered. The auctioneer, a heavy man with a gravelly voice, started calling out lots. A teenage boy, sold to a mine owner. A woman, sold to a brothel. Then the children. May, Eli, and Ruth were dragged onto the platform together. All 3 were crying now. "Young ones," the auctioneer barked. "Good for household labor. Start the bidding at $30 for the lot." 40, someone shouted. 50. Clara shifted to rise. Rook's hand shot out, stopping her. "Not yet," he said. "Wait. 60. The voice cut through her like ice. Clara knew that voice. The crowd parted. A man stepped forward, scarred face, dead eyes. Jed Blackmore. 60, he repeated. "I'll take all 3. Good investment. I know where to place them." Clara felt sick. She knew exactly what place meant. "We move now," Rook said. He gave a subtle hand signal. The warriors slipped away, melting into the crowd. Rook and Clara descended from the ridge and walked calmly into the square, 2 Apache among many tribes gathered for trade. They reached the platform just as Blackmore finished counting out payment. "Those children are not for sale," Rook said, clearly in English. The crowd turned. Blackmore squinted. "And who the hell are you?" "The man taking them home." Blackmore laughed. "I just bought them. Legal and fair." "There is nothing legal or fair about selling children," Clara said, stepping forward and pulling down her hair wrap. May's eyes widened. "Clara." "It's okay," Clara said softly. "I'm here. I'm getting you out." Recognition dawned on Blackmore's face. "I know you. You're the girl I sold months back. To an Apache." He looked at Rook. "You bought her. Now I'm buying them." "No," Rook said. He reached into his pouch and dropped it at Blackmore's feet. It landed with a heavy clink. Blackmore opened it. His eyes widened. "Gold. A lot of it." "That's triple what you paid," Rook said. "Take it. Release the children. Walk away." Blackmore hesitated, eyes darting between the gold, the Apache warriors closing in, and Clara's unyielding stare. "Deal," he said at last. "But you Apache. Buying white kids, you're driving prices up." "Good," Clara said coldly. "Maybe then people will stop selling them." The chains came off. May, Eli, and Ruth stumbled from the platform. Clara caught them, pulled them close. "It's okay," she whispered. You're safe. I've got you. We thought you were dead, May sobbed. I know, Clara said, holding her tighter. But I'm here, and you're never going back to her. Ever. They left San Carlos without resistance. The warriors formed a protective ring around them. Ruth rode with Clara, Eli with another warrior. May clung to Rook's side like she would never let go. And as the desert swallowed the town behind them, Clara Whitlock Kiona knew that some battles were worth any cost. Because family was not blood alone, it was choice, and she had chosen them. The only solid thing left in a world that had once been falling apart. They rode for 3 full days back toward the Apache camp. When they finally appeared on the horizon, Suri Neko and Onyx came running out bare feet, pounding the earth. Ina, they shouted. You came back. Clara Whitlock dismounted. Ruth Collins still wrapped tightly in her arms. Of course I came back, Clara said, her voice steady. I promised. She knelt and gently introduced the rescued children to Rook's children. This is May, Eli, and Ruth, she said. Ruth, they're staying with us now. They're part of our family. Neko studied the 3 white children for a long moment. Then he nodded, solemn and certain. Okay, he said. We protect them, like Ina protected us. In the weeks that followed, May, Eli, and Ruth began to adapt, slower than Clara had. They were younger, more wounded by fear and loss, but with time, patience and love, the sharp edges of their trauma softened. And Kiona, the name Clara now carried in her heart, felt her family growing, felt roots sinking deep into the land beneath her feet. Clara was 20 now. The thin, terrified 15-year-old was gone. In her place stood a woman, strong, sure, fluent, an Apache skilled in healing, hunting, and tracking. She was no longer a guest. She was a member of the tribe, respected, needed. Years passed. May grew to 12, Eli to 10, Ruth to 8. All 3 thrived, speaking Apache as easily as English, living the rhythms of Apache life. Suri was 12 now, Neko 14, Onyx 10. They had grown into remarkable young people, and Clara had grown into something else as well. She had fallen in love. It happened slowly over 5 years of shared life, of raising children together, of working side by side, of laughter caught in Rook's dark hair, of lines forming around his eyes from sun and joy. He was beautiful. She had tried God. She had tried to keep her feelings contained, proper, grateful, respectful. But somewhere between the first year and the 5th, her heart crossed a line she could no longer pretend wasn't there. She loved him, not as a protector, not as a guardian, as a man. And she hoped quietly that he felt the same, in the way his gaze lingered, in the way his hand brushed hers when he passed her something, in the smiles he gave her when he thought she wasn't looking. Still neither spoke. The years between them were many. Their beginning was complicated, and fear lived in the silence, fear that naming what they felt might destroy the family they had built. Clara was working a hide when Rook approached. Walk with me, he said. Her heart leapt. Of course. They climbed the ridge overlooking the valley, the same place where they had planned the rescue 5 years before. Clara, Kiona, Rook corrected himself. She had asked him to use her Apache name more often. I need to tell you something. This is it, she thought. He's going to tell me to leave, to find a husband, to build my own life. I'm listening, she said, bracing herself. 5 years ago, Rook began. I bought you to be a mother to my children. You were 15. I was 35. You were still a child yourself. Her chest tightened. I saw you only as someone who could help, someone who served a purpose. Her heart sank. Gentle words, but rejection all the same. But over these years, Rook continued, his voice roughening. You stopped being the child I rescued. You became the woman He paused, searching for breath. The woman I cannot stop thinking about. Clara froze. The woman I want beside me, not only as the mother of my children, but as my wife, my partner, my equal. Her breath vanished. I know I am too old, Rook said quickly. I know how we began. I know you may only see me as the man who bought you, who gave you shelter. He swallowed. But Kiona, I love you. And if there is even a small chance you feel the same, Clara kissed him. She cut off his words with her lips, pouring 5 years of buried feeling into that single trembling moment. When they pulled apart, both were shaking. I love you, Clara whispered. I have for years. I just didn't know if you could ever see me as anything more. You are everything, Rook said. You saved my children. You saved me. You became more than I ever deserved. They held each other, two souls who had found one another in broken circumstances and built something whole anyway. Will you marry me, Rook asked. Will you be my wife, not in name alone, but in truth? Yes, Clara said, tears streaming freely. 1,000 times yes. They returned to camp hand in hand. When the children heard the news, all 6 erupted with joy. Does this mean you're really our mother now? Suri asked. Clara smiled, pulling them close. I always was. I have always been your mother, Clara Whitlock said softly. This just makes it official. Ashi stepped forward and lifted her hands in blessing. Your true mother would be at peace, she said. You found love. You found home. You found yourself. The wedding was set for the next full moon. It was a traditional Apache ceremony. Clara wore soft doeskins stitched with quills and beadwork. Rook stood beside her in his finest ceremonial garments. Beneath a sky heavy with stars, they spoke their vows, promising to walk together through every season, through hunger and abundance, through sorrow and joy. Clara had never known happiness like that. It lasted exactly 3 days. Then the riders came. 12 men rode hard into the valley, armed, organized. At their head were 2 faces Clara knew all too well, Jed Blackmore and Hester Crowley. This time they had not come alone. With them rode men carrying official papers, men with the rigid posture of authority. And at the very front sat a U.S. Marshal. The camp reacted instantly. Warriors seized weapons. Women pulled children into shelter. The air tightened with the promise of blood. The Marshal rode forward and raised his hands. My name is Marshal Ben Rourke, he called. I'm here looking for a white woman named Clara Whitlock, also known by an Apache name. Hester Crowley smiled from behind him. Cold, triumphant. I've received a complaint stating she is being held against her will by hostile natives. The Marshal continued. I'm here to return her to her lawful guardian. He paused, then added, I'm also investigating claims that Apache warriors raided a legal auction and stole purchased property, 3 children. That is a federal offense. The ground seemed to tilt beneath Clara's feet. I'm not being held against my will, Clara shouted in English. I'm here by choice. I'm married. This is my home. You're 20 years old, Marshal Rourke replied evenly. In this territory, marriage requires parental consent until 21. Your legal guardian claims she never gave consent. She's not my mother, Clara cried. She stole me. I'm Apache by blood. That's a compelling story, the Marshal said, but the documents I have say otherwise. According to the law, you're still under her custody. And those 3 children legally purchased property. I'm taking them back. Clara felt Rook tense beside her. Felt the warriors ready themselves. This was the line. Submit and lose everything. Fight and doom the camp. I won't go, Clara said, and you can't make me. Actually, the Marshal replied, drawing his pistol, I can. Peacefully if you cooperate. By force if you don't. Your choice. Silence fell. 2 laws. 2 worlds. 1 impossible decision. Clara stepped forward, away from Rook, away from the warriors. Alone. You want me, she said. Then listen first. You have 1 minute, the Marshal said. Her voice carried clear, steady, unbreakable. My name is Kiona. I was stolen as a baby during a raid. I was raised by a woman who beat me, worked me like livestock, and sold me for $20 in grain when it suited her. She pointed directly at Hester Crowley. That woman is not my mother. She is a kidnapper, a trafficker, a liar. That's nonsense, Hester snapped. Quiet, the marshal ordered. You got proof? He asked Clara. Ashi stepped forward, holding worn documents. Birth records, a missing child report, filed 15 years earlier. The marshal read them. His jaw tightened. This changes things, he said quietly, turning to Hester. You lied to me. Clara pulled back her hair, revealing the crescent-shaped birthmark behind her ear. Ashi revealed the same mark. This is my blood, Clara said. This is my family. Marshal Rourke studied her, really looked at her. Not a girl, not property, a woman. You're 20, he said. Old enough to choose. He lowered his pistol. Stay or go. Final answer. Clara didn't hesitate. I stay. I am Kiona, wife of Rook, mother to 6 children, daughter of the Apache people. This is my home. This is my choice. Hester lunged forward with a scream. You ungrateful Rook caught her mid-strike, and the law at last shifted. He caught her wrist without effort. Touch my wife again, he said quietly, and I will forget that I am a peaceful man. My wife, Marshal Ben Rourke, lifted a brow. You're married. By Apache law. Yes, Clara Whitlock said, her voice steady. Locke said, we were wed 3 days ago. I don't care whether white law recognizes it or not. In my heart, in my people's eyes, and before the spirits of this land, I am his wife. That's what matters. The marshal looked from Rook to Clara, then down at the 6 children clutching her skirts. He sighed. You know what? I'm tired. It's hot, and I don't get paid enough to drag a woman away from a family that clearly loves her, just to hand her back to someone who sold her like livestock. He turned sharply to Hester Crowley. You're under arrest. Kidnapping. Child trafficking. You're finished. Hester screamed and fought. It took 2 men to hold her. As for you, the marshal said to Jed Blackmore, I suggest you leave before these Apache decide you're worth a few arrows. I won't stop them. Jed went pale, swung onto his horse, and fled. The marshal snapped the cuffs on Hester. For what it's worth, girl, I'm sorry. Kiona, you made the right choice. You've got more family here than most folks ever find. They dragged Hester away, her screams carrying across the desert, until they finally died out. Silence followed until Ashi broke it. Ina. Is it really over? Clara knelt and pulled all 6 children into her arms. Yes, it's over. We're safe. We're together. We're home. That night, the tribe celebrated not just the victory, but Clara's choice, her courage, her commitment. Ashi blessed Clara and Rook once more. Your mother's spirit smiles, she said. She lost you once. Now you are found. Now you are home. Before the whole tribe, Clara and Rook renewed their vows openly, fully, with every witness present. I choose you, Clara said in fluent Apache. Not because I must, but because I want to. Because you saved me. Because you gave me family. Because you taught me I am worth more than $20, worth more than survival. I am worth love. Rook's voice was thick. I bought your freedom, he said, but you gave me mine. You healed my children. You healed my heart. You made me believe in tomorrow again. You are my home, Kiona, my heart, my everything. They kissed as the tribe cheered. 1 year later, Clara cradled her newborn daughter, hers and Rook's first child, together. The baby had Clara's fair hair and Rook's dark eyes. Around them, 6 other children played, laughed, argued, loved. Suri taught May Collins how to weave. Neko showed Eli Collins how to read tracks. Onyx splashed with Ruth Collins by the stream. one family born of tragedy built by choice. Rook sat beside Clara and touched the baby's tiny hand. What should we name her? Clara smiled softly. Ira, after my mother, the one I never knew, but who lives on in me. Ira, Rook repeated. Perfect. Clara looked at her chosen family and felt peace. She had been stolen, sold, abandoned, broken, but she had also been found chosen, loved, rebuilt. And she had learned the truth that mattered most. You don't need the family you're born into. You need the family that chooses you, that fights for you, that looks at you and says you belong here and means it. Nothing. Not laws, not lies, not the ghosts of a past that tried to claim her could take that away. She was home, finally, truly, forever. Sold for $20 by the woman who stole her, bought by the warrior who gave her everything. Clara learned that family isn't blood, it's choice. And she chose love. She chose truth. She chose herself. If this story moved you, tap like and share it with someone who needs to remember this. Your worth is not defined by who abandoned you, but by who stayed. We'll meet again in the next adventure. All stories are created for entertainment purposes and may include fictional elements or dramatized interpretations inspired by historical settings. We use AI tools, voiceover visuals, scripts as creative assistants. However, all content is reviewed, refined, and edited by humans to ensure emotional authenticity and storytelling quality. We fully comply with YouTube's policies regarding AI-generated content and do not use any deep-fake techniques or misleading recreations of real individuals. All visuals and supporting materials are properly licensed. Sharing, re-uploading, modifying, or distributing any part of this content in any form requires written permission. We appreciate your support and respect for original creative work